In the quiet village of Obioma, where the morning cockcrow competed with the rustling leaves of the ancient mango trees, and where elders gathered beneath the shade of the obi to sip palm wine and discuss life, a story once began that the land would never forget. It was the kind of story that mothers whispered to their daughters at night, warning them about the weight of promises. It was the story of Nina, daughter of a poor widow, and Obina, her childhood best friend, the only boy who had ever seen her tears and wiped them without asking questions. They had grown together like yam tendrils climbing the same stick. Their huts were separated only by the narrow path that led to the stream. When Nina's father died of a brief illness, it was Obina who stole plantains from his father's farm to feed her and her grieving mother. They laughed together, bathed in the same stream, and even got flogged by the same village teacher. By the time Nina turned 17, her beauty had ripened like a cassava tuber ready for harvest. Her skin glowed like polished ebony, and her eyes held a calmness that made men's hearts stir. Suitors came from far and near, bearing yams, kegs of palm wine, and money. But she refused them all. Her heart was already taken. Beneath the towering iroko tree that stood beside the stream, where the wind sang and the water flowed like whispered secrets, Nina and Obina made an oath. It was the kind of oath the ancestors took seriously. They cut their thumbs, let the blood drop onto a white kola nut, and swore before the spirit of the land and sky. "If I ever leave you for another," Obina had said, his voice trembling like the evening leaves, "may the one I marry never know peace. May joy reject me, and may my life never know rest." "If I ever leave you for another," Nina echoed, her eyes wet with love and innocence. "May I never bear fruit, and may I suffer until death claims me." They buried the bloodied kola nut beneath the iroko tree, and with that, destiny was sealed. Or so they believed. Time, however, does not honor love. Years passed, and hardship thickened in Nina's home. Her mother, Mama Ifioma, pounded cassava for neighbors and fetched water for wealthy women to make ends meet. Nina, now a grown woman of 27, refused every man that came. She still fetched firewood with her bare hands, still helped her mother fry akara by the roadside, still slept with the same promise pressed against her heart. Obina had gone to the city, Onitsha, to hustle. He left with nothing but a torn bag, a cracked Nokia phone, and a kiss on Nina's forehead. He said he would return and build her a house. And she believed him. Every market day, villagers gathered around Mama Ifioma's stall and shook their heads. "That girl is cursed," they whispered. "So beautiful, and yet still unmarried. What is she waiting for? A boy that forgot her," others added. Even her mother, tired and heartbroken, once knelt before her. "Nina, Biko Mary, let me at least see your bride price before I join your father in the grave." But Nina only smiled weakly. "He made a vow, Mama, and so did I. He will return." It was on a Sunday afternoon, as the sun lazily danced through the raffia rooftops, that word spread like wildfire across Obioma. "Obina is back." Women dropped their pestles mid-pound. Children abandoned their games. Men rushed to the village square where a sleek black car sat like a god. Obina had returned, and he had returned with money, lots of it. But he also returned with something else. A wife. A fair, light-skinned woman from the city, tall and slender with artificial eyelashes that fluttered like butterflies and nails that could scratch the sky. Her name was Amara. Nina stood behind a tree when she saw them arrive. Her heart tore in silence. No scream escaped her throat. No tears fell. She only watched as the man who once vowed his soul to her kissed another woman's hand and introduced her as my everything. That night, Nina walked barefoot to the iroko tree. She fell on her knees and dug at the earth with trembling hands. But the ground had long eaten the oath. The village rejoiced in Obina's return, but something dark began to linger. On the third day of their stay, Amara fell sick. First, it was a strange headache, then a seizure, then unconsciousness. The doctors came. Prayer warriors came. Native doctors came. Nothing worked. Amara's eyes remained closed. Her breathing slow. She was dying, and no one knew why. It was on the seventh day that Obina had a dream. In it, the iroko tree spoke in thunder. "You swore beneath me. The earth remembers. The spirits remember. You have broken your word." He woke up soaked in sweat, panting like a hunted goat. That morning, he sat in silence, staring at his wife's pale face. Then he left the house, walked barefoot through the morning dew, and knocked on the door of the woman he had broken. When Nina opened the door and saw him, she did not speak. She only looked into his eyes. And Oena, with shame dripping from his lips, said, "Please, save her." The village of Obioma did not sleep that night. Lanterns flickered like restless fireflies in the dark, and whispers floated through the rustling palm trees like ghostly echoes. Something was not right in the air. The dogs refused to bark, the moon hid behind thick clouds, and even the crickets forgot to sing. Oena paced the corridor of his family compound, his hands behind his back, and his lips muttering prayers he hadn't remembered since he was a boy. In the inner chamber of the house, his wife Amara lay like a carved statue, eyes closed, limbs cold, her skin turning pale like unripe plantain. She had been like this for 5 days. The doctors had all returned to Onitsha, confused and helpless. The prophets had anointed every window and every wall, but her body remained still, as if the spirit had taken flight and left behind a shell. Mama Oena wailed in low tones. His elder sister, Auntie Yuzo, kept pouring anointing oil around the doorposts. But Obena's heart told him something different. Something deeper. Something old. The dream wouldn't leave his head. The Irako tree. The blood. The voice. And so, like a child who had stolen from his mother's pot of soup, Oena went to the only place he feared and desired to return to. Nina's compound was quiet. The mud walls of her home stood tired, as if they too had grown weary from waiting. A dim lantern flickered inside the small hut, casting long shadows on the walls. Her mother had long gone to bed, her fragile body curled beneath a wrapper, unaware of the visitor who now stood at their door. When Oena knocked, it was not with confidence. It was with shame. Nina opened the door slowly, wearing only a wrapper across her chest. Her hair was packed in a tired bun, her face bare, and yet Oena could barely lift his eyes to meet hers. I came to talk," he said quietly. Nina did not move. She looked at him, this man who had once kissed her palm beneath the Irako tree and promised the world. "What is left to say, Oena?" she asked. Her voice was calm, too calm. He swallowed hard. "She is dying." Nina blinked. "Then go and let her die." Oena fell on his knees. "I broke our vow. I know. But she's innocent." "No one is innocent," Nina replied, turning away. "She married a man whose heart was not whole." Obena's voice cracked as he whispered, "I saw the Irako in my dream. It spoke. The oath is still alive." There was silence. Then Nina turned slowly, her eyes now glistening. "So why are you here?" He looked up at her with trembling lips. "The spirits, they told me, that the only way she will live is if I marry you." Thunder rumbled in the far distance, though the skies were clear. 2 days later, a quiet wedding was arranged in shame. There was no music, no celebration, no dancing, just a hurried gathering of elders under the tree behind Obena's house. Mama Oena argued fiercely at first, refusing to accept the second wife. "It is this village which that cursed my daughter-in-law," she screamed. "She bewitched my son from childhood. This is madness." But Oena, now gaunt with worry, said nothing. His father called him aside and said, "A man who offends the gods must repair the altar before dawn. If this is the only way, do it." So the bride price was paid, Nigerian naira 10,000, a single she-goat, and a jar of palm wine. Nina entered the compound wearing a simple white wrapper and no makeup. She refused to smile. She looked neither left nor right. Her mother cried softly behind her, unsure whether to thank God or mourn the moment. And as the kola nut was broken and Oena officially took her as his second wife, a gust of wind swept through the compound. Every lantern flickered. Every chicken clucked nervously. Inside the room, where Amara had been unconscious for 7 days, something strange happened. She coughed, then gasped, then sat up, and everyone screamed. From the moment Nina entered the house, nothing remained the same. Amara, unaware of what had just transpired, opened her eyes to see her husband sitting beside her, his eyes red from weeping. "You're back," he whispered. "What happened to me?" she asked weakly. He said nothing, only kissed her hand and helped her sit up. Outside the room, Nina stood like a ghost. She had been given the old room at the back, a windowless space that once belonged to a storekeeper. Her only possession was a small mat and a Bible with torn pages. No one welcomed her. No one greeted her. Mama Oena refused to acknowledge her. Even the house girl avoided eye contact. But Nina said nothing. She cooked her own food. She bathed before dawn. She swept without instruction. She was the wife who saved a life, and yet the wife who brought war. Because soon, Amara found out. It began with whispers, then stares, then questions. And finally, the truth slipped from the lips of a drunk uncle who had attended the shameful wedding. Amara confronted Oena that night. Her voice was like fire, her tears like acid. You married another woman? To save me? What kind of madness is this? You let me lie in your bed, wear your ring, bear your name. And you had another woman waiting in this same house. Oena fell to his knees. Amara, please. But she slapped him. Tell me the truth. Did you love her? And Oena, foolish, guilty, honest, whispered, I never stopped. Amara screamed so loudly that the entire compound gathered. That night, she packed her things and ran to her mother's house in the next village. Oena ran after her, begging, kneeling in the sand, weeping before her family. But the damage had been done. For the first time in his life, Oena became a man divided. Amara stayed away for 2 weeks. When she returned, she acted like a ghost, quiet, cold, distant. She refused to eat his food. She cursed his name under her breath. And Nina? She remained silent through it all. She never raised her voice, never answered back. She washed the dishes. She swept the compound. And at night, she lay on her mat in the corner of the room and stared at the ceiling. But something had changed in the air. Oena began to see things. Shadows in the corners of his room. Footsteps at midnight. A whisper from the Irako tree. His business in the city began to fall. His shop was robbed. His partners betrayed him. One night, his car caught fire without warning. People said it was madness. But the elders said, the oath is not yet finished. In Obioma, it is said that when a snake slithers through a gathering of chickens, the silence that follows is not peace. It is fear dressed in waiting. This was how the compound of Oena became. Silence, not peace. It was the kind of silence that hummed beneath every pot of soup, crackled behind every greeting, and thickened the air like unspoken death. 2 wives lived under one roof, but the house was broken into 2 hearts, 2 war camps, and 1 man caught between. Since Amara returned from her mother's house, her heart had turned into stone. She moved around the compound with the stiffness of a wounded queen. Her clothes were brighter, her jewelry heavier, her tongue sharper. She called Nina that village thing. She insulted her food, splashed dirty water near her washed clothes, and once poured away a pot of soup Nina had prepared. I am the real wife, Amara shouted during one of her outbursts. You are a sacrificial lamb, a herbal solution. Oena, who once ruled his compound like a king, now sat quietly in corners like a child before judgment. Each day he watched his home fall apart, his wives tearing each other with silence and stares, and his spirit dragging behind like a goat on a short rope. Nina, however, remained composed. She never shouted back. She never insulted Amara. She never reported to Oena. She carried her pain like an iron pot on her head, with dignity, without letting it shake. But inside her, something had shifted. Love had turned cold. The Nina who once waited years with the innocence of a lamb now stared into the mirror and no longer recognized the girl behind her eyes. The oath that once bound her heart now pressed into her soul like a needle. She began to dream at night. Strange dreams. She saw herself standing beneath the Irako tree, wearing a white wrapper, holding a staff. Birds circled above her. Blood dripped from her hands. She woke up sweating. She prayed. She fasted. But the dreams continued. One night, she went to the Irako tree and poured libation. Let me go, she whispered. Release me. I do not want him again. But the wind blew fiercely, and the trees refused to be still. The oath was still alive, and it was hungry. Meanwhile, Misfortune continued to chase Oena like a persistent shadow. His second warehouse in Onitsha caught fire. His goods burned. His loyal manager resigned. His new business partner disappeared with 1.5 million Nigerian nairas. The bank called. His loan deadline approached. His reputation began to shake. In Obioma, tongues wagged. You can't cheat the gods and expect blessing, old women said at the stream. 2 wives, one by betrayal, one by oath. No peace will come to that kind of man. the palm wine tapper said at the market square. But the biggest shock came when Obena's mother fell sick. It began with a mild cough. Then her legs swelled. Her eyes turned yellow. She was taken to the hospital. Nothing was found. Taken to the herbalist. He said nothing was wrong. Then to the pastor in a meek poo, and the pastor stared at Oena and said, "You buried something you were meant to protect. Go and make peace with your first promise, or you will bury your mother with your own hands." Oena wept. He had become a man cursed by his own hands. Things reached a boiling point one hot afternoon when Nina was washing clothes near the backyard tap. Amara walked past, her long gown sweeping the ground. She looked at Nina and smirked. Then she said, "They say you're quiet, but I know your type. You think because you waited for him, that makes you special? You're just a forgotten story. You're a ghost in this house." Nina didn't look up. Amara stepped closer. "Do you think he loves you? He pities you. He sleeps with me every night. Not you. He didn't choose you. The gods forced you into his life." At that, Nina rose slowly. For the first time since she entered the compound, she spoke with a voice that shook the leaves above. "Amara," she said, her eyes glowing with quiet thunder. "If I wanted this house, it would belong to me. If I wanted to see you gone, you would not wake tomorrow. Be grateful I have peace in my heart. But if you cross me again..." She picked up her wet wrapper from the ground, wrung it, and let the water fall slowly. "You will dry like this cloth." Amara's face turned pale. That night, Amara locked her door. Oena could no longer sleep. He tossed from side to side. His dreams were filled with blood. His late father stood at the edge of the compound every night, pointing at him but saying nothing. His bank sent final notices. He tried to reach old friends for help. No one responded. Then one night, while returning from the town meeting, he saw the iroko tree glowing faintly in the distance. He walked towards it like a man possessed. There, lying in the grass beneath the tree, was the bloodied kola nut. The very same one they had buried. Fresh, wet, red. He screamed. When he returned home, he fell at Nina's feet, weeping. "Forgive me. Please release me. I'm sorry. I was blind. You waited. You loved me. You gave up everything." Nina looked down at him, her eyes steady. "It's not me you should beg. It's the spirit of the vow. And the thing about vows, Oena," she bent and lifted his face, "is that sometimes, even love cannot undo them. Only pain can." That same week, an elder woman in the village, a well-respected priestess named Mama Udiaku, summoned Oena. She was over 80, nearly blind, but her spirit was sharp. Oena knelt before her in her shrine. "You made a vow with a girl whose tears fed the earth," she said. "You broke it and offered your oath to another. The spirits do not forget." Oena asked, "What must I do?" She looked at him and replied, "You cannot undo what is done, but you must choose. One woman holds your soul, the other holds your punishment. You cannot serve two destinies." "Then must I divorce one?" he asked. She nodded. "Or one will die." In the deepest part of Obioma, where stories walk with the wind and old secrets sleep in the soil, the spirits were no longer silent. They had waited long enough. The oath made beneath the iroko tree had run its course, and now it demanded its due. Oena sat alone in his father's obi. The compound was unusually quiet. Even the chickens refused to crow. A strange kind of calm filled the air, like the hush before a heavy storm. He had not eaten in days. His beard grew unkempt. His eyes were sunken and distant. He knew what Mama Adiaku had said was true. The gods had spoken. He had to choose. One woman held his soul. The other held his punishment. But how could he choose? Amara had grown thinner. Her once glowing skin now dulled with bitterness. Her laughter had become sharp and empty. She walked around the house like a ghost in silk wrappers, talking to herself, smearing oil on her body, and lighting incense in corners of the compound. She accused Nina of everything. "She poisoned my food. She sent spirits to haunt me. She's using charm to control Oena." One morning, she stood in the center of the compound and tore her wrapper, shouting, "I will not leave. I am the rightful wife. My bride price was the first. Let that one go and marry the iroko tree." The villagers gathered. They watched in shame as she rolled on the ground, cursing and calling Nina names. But Nina stood at her doorstep in silence, watching. Her face was calm, her hands folded. She said not a word. When Amara picked a stone and flung it at her, the wind rose suddenly, fierce and sharp, sweeping dust across the compound. The stone missed Nena and struck the wall behind her. A baby cried from a distant hut. The birds flew off their trees. Even the dog ran inside the kitchen. The elders whispered, "It is no longer an ordinary fight." That night, Oena did not sleep. He walked barefoot to the Irako tree and knelt beneath its roots. There was no moon. The stars hid. He dug his fingers into the earth and cried like a broken child. "I was foolish. I was greedy. I was weak," he wept. "But I cannot lose both. I cannot let blood be spilled." A voice whispered in the wind, "Then let the one who kept the vow carry the name." Oena understood. At dawn, he called a family meeting. The compound was filled with elders, his mother, his sisters, a few uncles, and both wives, one standing tall and white, the other slouched on a stool, biting her lips. Oena stood in front of them with a torn heart. "I wronged the gods," he began. "I wronged a woman who gave me her youth, her hope, and her heart. And I brought another into a fire that was not hers. This house is at war because I betrayed a vow I made as a boy, thinking the earth would forget. But the earth remembers." He turned to Amara. "I married you out of timing, not truth. I brought you into a battle you could never win. You fought me. You fought her. You fought the gods. But you were not the enemy." Amara's eyes widened, her hands shaking. "Are you sending me away?" she hissed. Oena knelt. "I release you. Go in peace. I will return your bride price in full. And more. But if you remain, something greater than me will take you away." Amara stood up and charged toward him, but his uncle blocked her. She wept. She cursed. She slapped the wall. And when she realized her tears could no longer hold a man who was already drowning, she ran into her room and packed her bags. That night, her mother came to take her back. For a while, the compound was quiet again. Nena cooked for the first time without fear. She swept the compound and lit the oil lamp in the center of the obi. She prepared ofe onugbu with pounded yam and placed it before Oena. He looked at her with eyes full of guilt and sorrow. "I do not deserve your kindness," he said. Nena smiled faintly. "It is not kindness. It is closure." He looked confused. "Closure?" She nodded and sat down. "I waited for you because I believed love was enough. But love should never beg. Love should not bleed. We took a vow that the gods honored. But the vow was born in ignorance. I released you beneath the Irako last night." Obena's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" "I'm leaving." Silence. She stood up and picked a small bag. Nothing but 2 wrappers, a Bible, and a bottle of palm oil. "You have been punished enough. The curse has fed. You are free." Oena stood up, panicking. "Nena, please. Don't go. I chose you." She turned to him, and for the first time in years, he saw peace in her eyes. "But I didn't choose this life anymore. You broke me, and I fixed myself without you. That vow is now a story, and I must walk away before I become like her." She stepped outside. The sun was rising, casting golden light across the red earth. As she walked past the Irako tree for the last time, a breeze kissed her cheek. The tree stood tall, but quiet. For the first time in years, it did not speak. It had been satisfied. Months passed. Nena moved to Nsuka, where she started a small business selling herbs and spices. People came from villages around to seek her wisdom and healing words. They called her Nwanyi Ogu Irako, the woman of the Irako vow. Oena remained in Obioma. He never remarried. He restored his business slowly and paid his debts. But every market day, he sat under the Irako tree and watched the road, waiting, not for love, but for forgiveness. And in Obioma, the Irako tree still stands. Children play beneath it, and lovers now drop white kola at its roots, not to swear vows, but to ask for wisdom. Because the elders now say, before you promise your soul, make sure your heart will not change. For the earth remembers, and the wind writes everything down.